Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Rival Recon here on Anfield Index Pro. With the dust having settled on Liverpool's Carabao Cup success and the Reds making further strides in the FA Cup, it's clear that Klopp's side have their focus set on adding more trophies to the packed Anfield cabinets. None of those being more important perhaps than another Premier League title, and on this week's show, of course, we're turning our attention back to the league as Liverpool prepare to take on West Ham this Saturday afternoon at Anfield. Joining me on the pod this week to help us dive into what's been an impressive season for the Hammers, and just discuss how they can kick on from here, I'm delighted to welcome back West Ham correspondent for The Athletic, Roshane Thomas. Welcome back, Roshane.
Hey, good to be back.
Yeah, no, good to speak with you again. I think last time we spoke around West Ham, things were different, I'd say. Things were different. The club was at a different stage, and I think we were probably last chatted all the way back when I think Moyes had just been brought back to the club. I think actually, if it was that long ago, on the pod anyway, and discussing sort of the effect he could have, some of how the fans are feeling about it. Given he'd been there so recently in the past as well, but I guess bringing it back up to present day, and just before we actually dive into sort of where we are now, I mean, at the start of this season, based on what you'd seen him do last time round and the squad, what were your sort of expectations for West Ham this season?
To be honest, my expectations prior to the season starting were West Ham to be around mid-table.
Mm-hmm.
I felt obviously exciting to be part of the European campaign, but I thought it would be a lot for West Ham, particularly with the squad being thin. So I thought, that could have a negative impact. And obviously, as a result of that, you see a loss of form, which would have affected West Ham in the league, of course. But that hasn't been the case, pal. That hasn't been the case. They've really thrived in Europe. They've shown last season wasn't a fluke by any means, still in the hunt for top four. And if they don't get top four, certainly in the hunt for a top six spot. So it's been a good season so far for West Ham. Obviously, we'll get into it later on, but, not signing someone in January could come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
And, being a bit reliant on Bowden and Rice, for example, for great performances. But on the whole, it has been a good season so far for West Ham.
Yeah, no, I think, we'll definitely come on to talk about sort of how things could, I guess, not unravel or anything like that, but perhaps not, fail to sort of keep up the momentum of the early season, certainly for the latter half of this season. But I mean, when you were saying you're expecting a mid-table finish, you're expecting maybe a run in Europe, keeping up the development that you'd seen with West Ham last time round. On the signings that were made in terms of Zuma coming in, Vlasic coming in, and those who went out the door as well. I just wanted to ask you sort of how you felt those sort of addressed the issues at West Ham. Do you think they were good signings? And now with hindsight, how have they done?
Well, certainly Kurt Zuma. He was almost the missing piece of the jigsaw, because I had a great defensive pairing of Craig Dawson and Angelo Guana, but because they're sort of both on the wrong side of 30, you're looking at it thinking could do with someone much younger, hopefully in their let's say mid-20s or someone approaching their prime. And then Kurt Zuma arrives, like, hallelujah.
I always forget that about Ogbonna as well. I always forget he's actually on the older side.
Yeah, the side of 30. So you get kind of like Kurt Zuma, who's in their prime, a great defender, and he's been great for West Ham. Memory serves me well, he scored the winning goal against Liverpool in a 3-2 win. So he's been a fantastic signing, and he's led by example. I believe I'm right saying his first 2 months he was at the club, he was recalled to the front squad. So it got to show the impact he's having as well. So he's definitely been a great signing. Nikola Vlasic, however, he struggled. He struggled to adapt to English football.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans are still holding that judgment. We're still going to wait until next season to to form a full opinion on him. But look, most fans are fed up, if I'm being honest. Most fans are like, listen, we've paid 25 million for him. It just hasn't clicked yet. Scored only 1 goal all season, the odd assist, but it just hasn't clicked yet for him. And look, sometimes some players take a while. I think of Ben Rama. I think of Pablo Fornals. They both had tough starts to their West Ham careers. Also, Bowen, he had a tough start to his West Ham career. So I'm looking at that and thinking, all right, he's had a slow start, but look, the examples of players who have really hit the ground running in their second season. So hopefully that applies to Nikola Vlasic. But as we saw midweek in a loss to Southampton, he doesn't do himself any favours when he comes on. Doesn't have an impact. So hopefully next season we'll see, Nikola Vlasic do really well in a West Ham shirt.
And obviously he's 23. I think there was another arrival from Spartak Moscow came in who's 23 as well, Alex Král, and sort of a defensive midfielder as well. But on the other end of the spectrum, Craig Dawson. I've been quite interested by how you pick up Craig Dawson for $2 million odd from Watford. You probably don't expect him to be that involved. And he's had a sort of a renaissance, isn't he?
Well, I'm sure you're aware, but his nickname is now Virgil van Dawson.
I'd not heard that. That's a disgrace. I'm not. That's great. No, I mean, I think that emphasises the impact he's had.
Yeah, for sure. Last season, oh my goodness, he was arguably one of the most informed defenders in the league, and it reached a point where a lot of fans were like, hold on, he could be in contention for England here because he's playing so good. Obviously, he missed starting again, but if Dawson was, let's say, 5 years or 6 years younger, he definitely would have been involved because he was playing that good. The only thing with Dawson is consistency. So again, I mentioned, the game at midweek for Vlasic, the game midweek for Dawson, he gave away the penalty for Virgil. So you're looking at it thinking, no, Dawson, because he's so important for us, but he does have that in his game every now and then. He makes the odd mistake. But on the whole, he's been a great signing. It's two for him winning, absolute bargain. So to see him doing so well, always provides, he has a penchant for scoring from set pieces. So on the whole, he's been a great player for West Ham, and long may that form continue. Yeah,
and of course, I mean, you look at the start of the season and some of the performances, the runs of wins, and some of the big games as well. I suppose you mentioned it there that that 3-2 win over Liverpool at home, which I thought was a really, really impressive performance, to be honest. And I think it was a game that highlighted some of the vulnerabilities Liverpool have been having this season in terms of being unable to necessarily control games from midfield when Thiago or Keita aren't there alongside Fab. It's just too much work for some people to do. But I thought West Ham exploited that so well. You could see how well prepared they were for that game. I just wanted to ask you, I mean, if you were looking at the games this season, are there any that stand out to you? And you can include that one as well, as that's a really good example of when everything clicks for West Ham this season.
Quite a few games, in fact. My favourite game so far this season, it's funny enough, the season opener against Newcastle. I don't know what it is, but that game if I could relive one match, it would be that game. It was so good. The journey getting there was something else, challenge all the way up to Newcastle, trains getting cancelled, fans not behaving themselves, but it's a classic away game. It really was. So, and obviously 6 goals, 4-2 win. It was just, Declan Rice stopped playing on the first half. In the second half, it just clicks for him and he puts in the man of the match performance. That match was just so good. And obviously that you win 4-1 away at home to Leicester. So, but certainly the Newcastle match that comes to mind. My mind also goes back to, obviously when we entered Liverpool's unbeaten record in the league, I think it was 3-2 win. Yeah. So, that, and then the 3-2 win over Chelsea, that was also an incredible game. So, they're the ones that come to mind. But if I had to pick one, it certainly would be the Newcastle game, because you want to start right, and it just felt good, that game. That was, in my opinion, that was the best atmosphere from an away crowd that I've been to. I've been to the Leeds, I've been to all the away games, but Newcastle, the away fans, which were West Ham, of course, were just amazing. That match, it was so good. So that's the one match I'd love to relive, because it was so good, so memorable.
Yeah, right at the start of the season as well, and away from home. Yeah, I can imagine what it's like. Six goals on the opening day is always a fun one for sure. And I mean, some of the players who've been integral then in those good performances, in those good runs. I think that some of the names that will be familiar to Liverpool fans, for example, Kufal, Souček, Declan Rice. And I want to touch on Declan Rice for a second, because we've definitely spoken in the past about how, as a fan who doesn't watch him week in, week out, was you wouldn't appreciate the subtleties of what he was doing, also or just why he was so integral to West Ham. And this season, I think and actually even last season as well, sort of the way in which he's sort of developed as a player, obviously speaking out loud about how he likes to model himself on the likes of, Yaya Toure, has a little bit about box to box about his game now as well. I just wanted to ask you around what you've made of his development, really, and now basically what are all the things that Declan Rice currently does for this West Ham side? Because I think some of them may have changed.
Yeah, he's taken his game to the next level of the season, the next level. And I honestly believe the turning point in his career, obviously in a positive way, was the Euros. I think playing in the Euros has given that confidence that, you know what, I'm really good.
Yeah.
I'm really good. And he's saying that a lot more in interviews now. Like, he reckons he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Before, he was like, yeah, I'm good. I want to learn though. But whereas now he's like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm really good. And he feels it. You can see his performances. So definitely the Euros was the turning point in Rice getting a lot more self-belief. And what can I say about this guy? He's different gravy. He is different gravy. Generational talent, as far as I'm concerned. Just if you want to watch a match, he'll never cheat you out of the money you pay. Rice will never cheat you. You get your money's worth when you watch this guy play. And it's almost as if a lot of West Ham fans will tell you, it's almost as if we take it for granted, because we see this guy play so well every week, and it's like we expect Rice to play well. You know what I mean? Like, he plays a minimum of 8 out of 10 every week. If Rice plays below that, they're thinking, oh, what's going on here? Because he's always playing so well. And for me, in terms of like Rice offensively, we saw it in the game against Genk, the away game. Picked up the ball from the halfway line, wanted to drive and run, and then obviously scored that terrific solo goal. And in my opinion, I thought he showed signs of like a Steven Gerrard type player in the game against Hari, the FA Cup match, of course, where West Ham was struggling for that creative spark. Rice comes on at half time. It's almost as if it's like, I'm the best player here. Give me the ball and I'll save us. That's what Gerrard used to do for Liverpool, all those years ago. And it felt like that was Rice did for West Ham in that match. Scored a winning goal, a fantastic winning goal it was as well. So certainly that. And it's just being a leader. He's learned a lot from Mark Noble. He's been West Ham on-field leader. Obviously, Mark Noble's the captain, of course. But when you think of West Ham, you think about Declan Rice leading by example week in, week out. And it's been great to see. It's just, honestly, there's players you talk about, and it's like, yeah, they're good, they're fantastic. But when you think of someone like Declan Rice, you're just so happy for him, because his story is like a story anyone can relate to, in terms of, you were at club previously, they didn't really give you a chance, they didn't really have the full faith in you. And you've gone on to do great things. In life, you're going to have setbacks. But if someone gives you a chance, you're going to try and reward them. And the average man can relate to Declan Rice's story. So, yeah, I'm happy for him. It's going so well, and hopefully that may continue this season.
Yeah, what was it? Just a few more details around that backstory, because it's one that I'm not familiar with. So he was previously at the club, but not rated or sent out on loan? Was it a similar thing to sort of what we heard with Kane in the past? Or sorry, I'm not aware of the full story.
I think it was, they felt it wasn't like his body hadn't matured enough yet.
Okay.
So it's quite far. Because I wrote an in-depth piece on because prior to making his 150th appearance, I tracked on everyone, pal, everyone. I talked to everyone about like his journey from being skinny Chelsea before he was like 14, I think it was, to now being one of the best midfielders in the world and country as well. And yeah, everyone said it was a shock why he got released by Chelsea, but he used it as motivation. I think the same day he got released, he trained at Fulham. I think it was sort of a toss-up between Fulham and West Ham, but he thought West Ham would be good because he'd be out of the area. And then, but as I mentioned in the piece, right, a lot of people aren't aware that Rice had his struggles at West Ham. He was close to being released at one point. He really was. It was a toss-up between him and another player who doesn't play football anymore. So coaches were like, Rice is good, but we're not so sure. We're not really sold on him. And then Rice being Rice, used that to his motivation and just really took his game to another level. Just led by example. He won, I think, the Premier League title with the under-23s shortly after. Just doing Declan Rice things, So full credit to him. I spoke to Slaven British for that piece as well. He was full of praise. Everyone's been full of praise. He's like, when you think back to school days, you think that model pupil. That's Declan Rice.
The head boy, yeah.
Yeah, the pupil, the student everyone wanted to be like, but just couldn't. That's Declan Rice, and he's doing it right now for West Ham.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, just before we started recording, we were talking about watching that Kanye West documentary at the moment, and there's multiple bits in that where you're like, this man just completely believes in it. He believes in himself to such a degree there's almost unsettling. And I think one of the things I enjoyed about Rice, you can definitely see that increased confidence. You can definitely see, I thought you saw it in the Euros, just someone who every time you watch him, just looks like they're really, really enjoying playing football. And yeah, occasionally things get thrown at them that they maybe not expecting or maybe can't wrestle with fully, but they're enjoying the entire experience, which actually you don't really see when you're looking at every single footballer. Some of them are so locked in, it's like a real specific job, it's a task. Some of them for maybe fitness issues aren't enjoying it as much as well, but he always looks like he's enjoying it, and he's more integral than ever. And then the other two players I mentioned as well, I do want to come on to talk about Antonio a little bit, because I think it's important around maybe relying on these players, but these two fall into that category as well. I think Souček and Soufal, really highly rated amongst the fan base. You see the work rate that they provide on top of their actual sort of on the ball abilities as well. How have they been this season, and are we just starting to see some of the signs, similar with Antonio as well, of they're great, but they play relentlessly, and it's there's not much left in the tank maybe.
Yeah, no, I wrote a piece recently, and I sort of joking about Thomas Souček needs right now like 2 break in Barbados, because because I worked out the stats, right. He played the most minutes by a league player since September 2020. That's a lot
of any league player, right?
Actually, let me phrase it differently. Of any outfield player.
Okay.
Of any outfield player, the most minutes, I think like 5,000 and something. I think it was.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, pal. Honestly. So he plays a lot of minutes, and we've sort of seen it having an impact on his form this season, because he hasn't quite been as good as last season. Last season, he was making driving runs from midfield. He scored 10 league goals, the joint highest in that league, alongside Antonio, of course.
This is Soufal, right? We saying?
No, this is Souček.
Souček.
Souček, and obviously he won the Hammer of the Year award, so he was incredible last season. This season hasn't quite been the same in terms of his midfield partnership alongside Rice. We've seen, as I mentioned, Rice becoming a lot more offensive. Want to make more forward runs. That was Souček last season, so it has been tough trying to find that sort of telepathic understanding. But look, he's still an important player. He showed it in the win against Wolverhampton, where he scored the win on his birthday. So that was nice to see. And look, how I wrote a piece recently, obviously, as I mentioned, when I sort of jokingly said he should be on a 2-week break in Barbados.
Yeah.
I said, sometimes, right, and I'm thinking of this like as a 100-meter race. You get some sprinters who are they're fast at the blocks. They're quick, and then they win the race. So you get some who are a bit slow, but they get momentum during the course of the 100 meters, and they win the race. And I said, right now for Souček, it should be the latter. Have a bit of momentum, and then when you get towards the finish line, which for West Ham will be May, you're so important for West Ham. And hopefully now we see a bit more consistency in his performances, because he is an important player. He's that heartbeat on midfield. He runs. He's still, even now, going to Rush Green, the training ground, of course, on his days off. The man loves work. He loves work so much. So look, hopefully he returns to the Souček of old, because, as I mentioned, definitely an important player. In terms of Vladimir Soufal, he's also struggled. He's also another who can't get away from the training ground, always there on his day off as well. And I think with Soufal is the fact now that he's having a lot more competition. So you've got Ben Johnson, who's a promising young 22-year-old. He's impressed this season. He was on the verge of being called up for the England 21s, for example, but now he missed out. So you got him who's applying pressure, although he's not quite as good. You've got Ryan Fredericks also applying pressure, so you can't take his spot for granted. Vladimir Soufal, that is. So similar to Souček, he's also struggled. My mind goes back to I think it was 2-2 draw against Leicester, where, oh my goodness, Harvey Barnes was just absolutely giving him a difficult time. It's almost as if every time Harvey Barnes got the ball, Soufal's like, oh no, not this again.
There we go.
There we go, not this again. So, and then he got taken off in that match. And funny enough, a few weeks prior, I was also taken off in via the loss against Man United. So he's been a bit shaky. He's out right now with a hernia injury. So hopefully when he gets back, he'll show the Vladimir Soufal of old. He was making great runs and also was in contention for the Hammer of the Year award as well. So hopefully see an improvement moving forward. Yeah, no, I mean,
you just reminded me there of sort of certain players that you watch, and you can tell 20 minutes in, you need sort of the quickest exit from this place as possible. Like either you're knackered because you played too many games, or you just realise that you've come up against somebody who's really feeling it that day or whatever. And I remember thinking about Danny Rose earlier in the season, and it was Salah. You could just tell from the first 5 minutes, it's gonna be a really long day for Danny Rose. And you can always tell just early on in the game, certainly if a winger is feeling it, and they're they're running at you, and you're not quite maybe at the full fitness. It's going to be a tough time. And as you said, those guys are the engine room, aren't they? Along with Rice, even though there are some other players who've come in and been more influential this season. Who else would you pluck out then in terms of players that you think deserve sort of special mention this season for what they've achieved so far, all over the pitch, basically? Who are there players who've improved, who've been on the books for a while, like Von Aals, for example, or is it some of the is it the new signings like Zuma who've really helped like tremendously this season?
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely highlight other players. You've got Lucas Fabianski, who's really thrived on that battle with Alphonse Areola. And I personally believe the arrival of Alphonse Areola has helped Fabianski become a lot more consistent. One thing to say about him before, where he was a great goalkeeper, but not really consistent, whereas now he's been put on a lot of top performances. So he's one that comes to mind. You can also highlight Jared Bowen, aka Iron Bowen, aka the best boyfriend right now for Danny Dyer. I mean, what an incredible player! Definitely a shoo-in for the England squad later this month. Just his progress this season has been so good. It's been so good. It's one of the feel-good factors of the season, in my opinion, because I mentioned Vlasic struggling earlier. That was Bowen last season. Bowen was substituted 24 times in the league last season, the most by any player in the league. That tells you how he was struggling, and it reached a point where the electric ball goes up, it's Bowen coming off. But it happened that often because he just couldn't play 90 minutes forever. It was just fitness just wasn't quite what it needed to be. Whereas now he's played 90 minutes in pretty much all the league games, so he's been amazing. I spoke to a few of the coaching staff at West Ham, and they said, look, last season what we did was after training we get him to watch video clips of Frank Ribery and Arjen Robben. And the thinking behind that is, with Bowen being left-footed, we wanted him to start using his right foot more, be a lot more of a complete player. We think of Frank Ribery, Robben, Damien Duff, I'll also put in that category. They're complete. They can use their left foot and also their right foot. So what they'll do is they'll have Jared come up against Stuart Pearce, the first team coach in training, so he could dribble with his left foot, but he needed to use his right foot to shoot or provide a cross. That was the catch. So this season we've seen Jared attempt a lot more crosses and shots with his right foot, for example. And it definitely had the desired effect because he's become a lot more complete. Where last season he was a bit limited in what he could offer. Hence why now he's first of all undroppable, and you don't want to take him off because he's still capable of having an impact on the pitch. Yeah,
no, I remember he was last summer. There were some brief links that emerged, weren't there, around I'm not sure how much validity there was in it, but there were sort of links around Liverpool being interested in Jared Bowen, and I remember a lot of people sort of turn their nose up at him, going, "Really? Come on, is this guy going to be good enough?" And then to your point, I mean, last season he kept coming off, he wasn't as consistent, and it only took maybe 10 or so games into the season, and you go, "Oh right, yeah," you just watch him play, and you go, "Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense in terms of sort of a Klopp type player, a Pep Linders type player who." The shift that they put in work-wise is there to see, but then there's also that grit, there's that creativity, as you mentioned. And actually, I think, if you were looking at two players' tapes to be sort of a great example for yourself, Ribery, and sort of how gnarly Ribery could be, and Robben, and how inevitable Robben could be. They're pretty good players to focus in on. All right, so Jared Bowen's obviously stepped up as well. And then I suppose we get to Antonio, right, and sort of the fact that he's being depended on so greatly. I've seen that piece that you wrote sort of towards the end of last month around the fact that he played 90 minutes in 7 of his previous 8 league games and things like that, and he hadn't scored many goals, only a couple in sort of 17, 18 appearances. We know what he's like when he's on full form at peak fitness. Fresh, raring to go, is a real handful. But you could see it, fans could see it, lots of people could see it, sort of the dependency on him at the start of the season. I just wanted to get your opinion on how his season has gone and how he's maybe sort of burned out of late, but then also why you think there wasn't more done in January to really push for that player to just lighten the load.
Well, he's another who could do with 2 break in St. Lucia right now.
Maybe there could be like a package deal, I reckon a couple of them get together. I mean, it's obviously not they're not short of change, but they could book together, I need to
start my own little travel agency, call it Thomas Tours. Thomas Tours, and give them some discount. But look, all in all, it's been a good season for Antonio because remember he broke
He did.
the all-time top score for West Ham when he passed to Canio. I can't remember. I think it was against Leicester, if memory serves me well. And then he ran to he ran to the technical area and obviously celebrated with that carbon cup out of himself. Only Antonio would do that. So look, it's been a good season for him. West Ham fans would like him to become a lot more consistent. But look, in terms of Antonio himself, he just can't fault the work rate. Similar to Solskjaer, just gives it his all every game. There's other occasional games where he's a bit quiet, not his usual self. But look, in terms of how he plays, you can't do it every week. You know what I mean? You can't. It's hard to play like that every week in terms of being at his best. But lately we've been seeing Antonio evolve that being that bully, that tough defender to mark. Sorry, that tough striker to mark. And it's been good to see. All he needs now is to keep scoring more goals. Scored against Southampton in the FA Cup loss, but just chipping in more goals. That's what we want Antonio to see. Definitely more than capable of scoring more than 10 goals in a competition of a season. Definitely more than capable of doing that. So hopefully we see that moving forward. But in terms of like the over-reliance, that's the one thing that you hope in terms of injury-wise that he can stay fit for the rest of the season, because to his credit, he's yet to suffer an injury this season. The only reason why he's been out, he missed the 2-1 loss to Man United because of suspension. He got sent off in a 0-0 draw against Southampton, and then he missed the Carabao Cup loss to Tottenham because he had COVID. So the games he's missed has been injury or health. It hasn't been down to being injured. So that's great, and full credit to Antonio for that, because I wrote a piece a few months ago that he changed his diet now. He doesn't eat red meat anymore, and it's done wonders for him. Done absolute wonders. But in January, many will consider it to be a missed opportunity because it was the perfect time to find a backup for Antonio. So, for example, West Ham missed out on signing, let's say, like Darwin Núñez for Benfica, who's a great up and coming forward in Europe. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Moy said they missed out on signing Luis Diaz, the Liverpool winger. So they made an effort to sign players on Zapaleta, the Atalanta striker on loan. They missed out on deadline day. So they definitely made the effort to sign players, but for one reason or another, they couldn't get it over the line. So that's the only frustration. It's like West Ham having this great season, challenging for top four. At the time, we're involved in the FA Cup. Europa League is still there. Get a few faces in. They can hopefully provide an X factor like Lingard was last season for West Ham. He played such an important role, in West Ham second half of the season. Haven't got that, so you're still relying on the single players. You're still relying on Antonio to play up front. And let's say you were to suffer an injury or get suspended, the alternative really is playing Bowen up front. And he can do it, but you rather have an actual striker to do that role. So look, it's not ideal situation, but credit to Antonio because he is doing the best out of a bad situation right now.
Yeah, and sort of you can always tell sort of when players are trying to find that every percentage point, every inch when they're making those sort of minor adjustments to their game, whether it be nutrition or whatever. And they obviously reap the benefits of that. And Luis Diaz, I think very glad that we managed to pull that one over the line, to be honest, because the guy does look great already, and it's just the engine is already as impressive as sort of the no-look passes. Even when the no-look passes are incredibly telegraphed, I've quite enjoyed them as well. Even when players have seen the no-look pass and sort of got the pass, I've admired the effort in just do it anyway. Why not? Like just go for it. And I'm looking at the table, and obviously 5th place. 27 games played, 45 points, only 2 points off pretty beleaguered Man United side this season as well, having played the same number of games, which is obviously very interesting. Arsenal beneath West Ham, obviously, though, having a bunch of games in hand, Tottenham a couple of games in hand as well. Then there's the Europa League game as well against Sevilla that's coming out last 16 of that. So it has been a good season. I think it will be classed as a good season. Regardless of what happens next now, I'm not expecting a big sort of tail off or things like that. But in terms of trying to prioritize competitions now, I was reading a piece that you'd written around, that West Ham could soon have nothing to play for because obviously this is the business end of the season. This is where it comes. Disappointing loss in the FA Cup, especially given how much Southampton had changed up their side. But again, maybe that points to the issue around West Ham that they hadn't freshened up. And they've not necessarily got the options to freshen up now. In terms of what you think Moyes is going to try and prioritise, or whether he can do both at this stage with the Europa League and the league, what impression do you get in terms of sort of where his attention is leaning?
Well, obviously, both, like, as I mentioned earlier, West Ham's still in a hunt for top four.
Yeah.
So this is how I think of it, right? Let's say you're younger and like you want £5, but you ask for £10 because if you ask for £5, you could get less. But if you ask slightly above more than what you want, you'll get your target, right?
Exactly.
So let's say the pre-match goal was to get top 6 again. You try and aim for top 4, because if you don't get top 4, you can get the top 6. So I think Moyes has done very well in doing that. To be fair, he hasn't said we're gonna get top 4. We're still trying to qualify for Europe. But
he never got carried away, did he?
If you set aside for Champions League and you don't get it, then Europa League is still this is still fairly new for West Ham. So fans will still be grateful for another European adventure should they qualify, should they finish the top 6 again. But in terms of how my gut feeling, it's got to be Europa League. It's got to be Europa League.
Yeah.
To come out of the FA Cup was so, like, we always speak to Moyes, especially after defeat. He looks so down. He looks so down in midweek. You can just see it in his face.
Yeah.
And
because only one game away, right, from semi-final. Yeah.
No, for the quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it would have been semi-finals had they won. So, yeah. And he looks so down. Like, he tends to be quite good at hiding his emotions, but that he just couldn't do it. Like, you could see his face and how gutted he was. And out of the FA Cup, and I wanted West Ham to progress because Martin Noble's last season, play at Wembley, give him a nice send off. So now you're sort of banking on Europa League and hopefully doing well. But then you get Seville and tough team. But look, West Ham have scouted Seville twice now. I believe the coaching staff will be there at the game this evening. I think they're facing Deportivo Alavés. I think they're pronounced.
Yeah.
So they're facing them. So a coaching staff will be there to provide analysis on what to expect again next week. So we're doing a lot of research for sure. And look, West Ham show season, it could be anyone on their day. On their day, West Ham could be anyone. But it's about having the perfect 90 minutes, and that's what it will require. But look, I think West Ham can put an upset. I really do. They did it. One could argue against Man City in the Carabao Cup. Bear in mind they played a full strength team, so no reason why West Ham can't look in that and gain confidence. They could do it once more next week because Europa League could be amazing. Playing in Seville, it's going to be where the finals held on May 26th, I believe. It's just written in the stars.
Yeah.
Written in the stars. So if you're going to do it once, why not do it twice?
Yeah, that's not a bad away as well. Yeah, speaking from experience, that's a fun place to go and watch football for sure. And yeah, I think even beyond sort of the fans being happy with getting Europa League for next season, I'm sure the club financially as well. I mean, the fact that you're back-to-back European finishes, showing the strength of the club, reinforcing that the way in which they're doing things is working, and sort of highlighting what they could do to help push on. And on that, then I guess if you were looking at next season already, let's say West Ham do have a strong run in the Europa League, get past Sevilla, maybe go all the way, who knows, or sort of like have a really good battle for top 4. And even if they finish outside of it, still qualify for the Europa League. Looking at the squad now and looking at what we discussed already in the pod, I mean, what would you say need to be the key, that the number one priorities for the summer in terms of how this side can kick on? Is it keeping certain players? Is it adding others?
Certainly keeping Declan Rice and Jared Bowen. That's definitely key moving forward. And also, I'll also put into that Kurt Zouma and Pebble Fornals. Keeping those 4 will be so key because I reckon this could be the toughest summer for West Ham. I really do. Because all the other clubs will be trying to nick, as I mentioned, they're promising players. And let's say West Ham don't get top 4, or let's say they miss out on top 6, other clubs can offer them European football, more so Champions League in terms of the caliber of clubs that's being linked to West Ham's players right now. So that's tough if you're West Ham and you've got a Chelsea or Man City or Man United off Declan Rice, potentially Liverpool or another club after Jared Bowen, a European club potentially for Kurt Zouma or Pablo Fornals. Bear in mind, these are players who aspire to, well, you've got Declan Rice international, Jared Bowen will become an international, Kurt Zouma wants to be a regular international for France, so too does Fornals for Spain. These players are aspirations. They want to, achieve stuff in their careers, and if they feel like they can't do that at West Ham, if they don't achieve a particular league position, unfortunately, they're going to try and go elsewhere to achieve that. So that's key, keeping those 4 players. And more so, getting attacking players. Got to get some attacking players in because, again, I keep referencing this match, but the Southampton game was just another example of just the lack of attacking options from the bench. Benrahma, Vlasic, they haven't scored for the bench this season. They've been brought off the bench 20 times and they haven't scored. And the bench had about 5 academy players, and none of them came off the bench. So just need to have more squad depth for attacking players, because let's say, as we touched on, Antonio's, a bit burnt out. Have someone else who could play up front. Bowman could be burnt out at some point. Have someone else who could play in both positions. So we saw at Southampton, they made nice changes and still won because they could rest players. Broja came off the bench, bit energized, scored a decisive goal. That's what West Ham need to do moving forward.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, pre-season in Barbados for a few of them, it sounds like.
Yeah,
sort of pre-season.
Thomas Tours will be up and running.
Thomas Tours, yeah.
You know what I mean? the nice package I can provide for these players, and yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think there's probably legs on that, to be honest. And then around the game itself, I don't want to talk too much about the game, but Liverpool are in this interesting place at the moment as well. Cause I think earlier in the season, maybe fans had written things off, and it's obviously really tough to keep pace with City and what they've been doing, which is obviously crazy. And the way in which things have transpired. Yeah, this 14 game sort of winning streak at the moment for Liverpool. The cup final, how that went. Even the feel good factor around the FA Cup the other night, and Takumi Minamino scoring some more goals. Players on the fringes feeling involved as well. It does feel like there's a really, really good feel factor around Liverpool at the moment, despite a couple of injuries, of course. And it's never not nice not to get a chance to watch Thiago play football, because it's just it's so much fun when you can. But in terms of how you think Moyes is going to approach this game, then away from home, much has been made about Moyes' record, etc. at Anfield. And how the rhythm that Liverpool are in, for example. How do you reckon he's going to approach this in a similar mentality that he did the home game, where you look to exploit those issues in Liverpool's midfield? It looks like there's going to be a couple of absences tomorrow. You just go at them and see if there's any goals to be got, or a more conservative approach. What do you reckon?
No, you play similar to the win against the 3-2 win against Liverpool. Beat them once, try and beat them again. I reckon that'll be his message to the players. You can definitely do it again. So, but look, right now Liverpool are unbeaten the last 14 games in all competition. So one could argue Liverpool are much improved since they lost that last match against
they are, but
West Ham. So it's going to be a tough battle. But I reckon Moyes' message will be, listen, we've done it once, we can do it again. I think Fornals has a good record at Anfield. He has a good record, so he's one I'm looking at thinking, you know what, you could be the man of the moment here. Everyone will be looking at Bowen being linked to Liverpool, Rice, Tony, the usual names, but I think it's one of those games, especially for West Ham, where someone like a Craig Dawson or Fornals will be like, hey, listen, I'm here, and I can contribute to the party as well. I think it'll be one of those matches where a name that not everyone's talking about will come up and play an important role.
Interesting, yeah. No, I think certainly from the Liverpool perspective, I'm looking at it and going, the issues that we had, like I mentioned, they've been in midfield this season, and it feels weird to say because Liverpool have obviously done so well, and they are doing so well at the moment, but they've had this issue where if they're not controlling a game because they're a couple of goals ahead, or the attackers are wreaking havoc or whatever, they can sometimes be a little bit susceptible to what we saw at West Ham, driving runs through midfield. The 2-8s for Liverpool, Hendo, I think it was Milner that day as well sometimes. Those two they just don't track runners. I'm not sure why. That's the reason, but maybe it's not in their sort of roles anymore. But the likes of Thiago, the likes of Keita, the likes of Fab, they have been really good at that sort of side of the game. So I think from what I'm hearing, Keita is not going to be there tomorrow. Thiago, we already know, is not going to be there. Some rumours that Jones might not be there. He's done a good job in that role as well. So yeah, that hole could be there again for the likes of Bowen, for the likes of Fornals. So it's going to be an interesting contest for sure. But I am looking forward to seeing Antonio up against this version of Virgil, I think, because earlier in the season, he was, I reckon, 60-70%, and now I think if there were any doubters, that penalty probably showed them how he's feeling about himself at the moment, and he looks like he's back on prime Virgil form. So that's going to be interesting for sure. But I just wanted to close it really by saying, if you could pluck one player from this Liverpool side to chuck into West Ham right at the moment, it sounds like I think I know what end of the pitch it would be. But who would it be?
Oh, good question. Because The obvious answer is like Mo Salah. Like, who wouldn't want Mo Salah out of their club? But
Yeah,
you know what?
but then Jared's not playing that role.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like it's so easy to say Mo Salah. I like being a bit different as well, so I'm picking Joe Gomez. I like Joe Gomez.
Joe, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I like
Centre
Joe
back
Gomez.
pairing for
Kurt Zuma,
Kurt
the
Zuma.
long-term successor for Bonner and Dawson. So I'll go for someone like Joe Gomez. Versatile, can play right back as well. So yeah, I'm going for Joe.
That's actually a really interesting shout. Actually, 'cause I think of late he'd been talking about not getting the game time that he'd ideally like to get. He's obviously super talented, but rarely gets a chance to play in that position. Well, actually, I think this season maybe he would have expected to play more, but touch wood, this weird thing's happened where Matip stayed fit, and yeah, when he's actually fit, he's pretty much Klopp's go-to first choice alongside Virgil. So it's been. Yeah, it's been weird, and obviously now Konate's come in as well. But yeah, I like the sound of it actually. Almost Gomez and Zuma, and you think about their skill set as well. Gomez being quick, really comfortable on the ball. Zuma a bit more powerful in the air than Gomez is for sure, but also has all those skills as well. So yeah, I think that could be one that's maybe we'll see resurface in the summer actually, because I think he will be maybe thinking about moving on, whether the club decides it or not.
Yeah, so yeah, for sure. That's definitely something I look at and think, yep, I'll come on down. What's that TV show? Still the Price is Right.
Price is Right.
Come on down. Yeah, come on down, Joe Gomez.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe organise an extra ticket on Thomas tours to Barbados for Joe. Like it's,
no. That'll be the coach service. The coach service. Well, full package. So the coach service.
No, exactly. But anyway, Roshane, thanks so much as usual, just for coming on and giving us all that insight into West Ham. And I think you'd have to be a pretty cynical football fan to look at what's going on at the club. And yes, it's Moyes, and of course Moyes has that sort of relationship with Liverpool and Liverpool fans, but the work that he's done there, I think it's really testament to the impact he's had. The club looks like for the first time in, I think, quite a long time, actually, over the past couple of years, everybody's moving in the right direction, it seems, and that the plan is good, and they're sticking to the plan, they're being methodical with it, and yeah, I think if the club finishes in these European places again, goes deep in that competition, that's only going to make them even more attractive for players to come across, and you've already got the London appeal. So, yeah, thanks so much for all the insight, Roshane.
Nah, no worries at all. I'm always happy to come on the show, pal.
No worries. And to all those who've been listening to Rival Recon this season, I'm sure you're enjoying it, of course. There was a chance that some of these games would be less relevant as we came to the end of the season, but the Reds had other things in mind. It's pretty clear. And we'll be back ahead of the Brighton game on March 12th. So check out, keep your eyes peeled for that pod ahead of that game. But between now and then, do check out all the other great content on Anfield Index Pro. I'm hoping all the new listeners who've joined over the past few weeks have been enjoying what they've been hearing. Otherwise we'll speak to you before our trip to the seaside on March 12th.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.